Everything in this podcast is alleged and my own opinion and from my own perspective. Please do your own research and come up with your own opinions.
Placed Deputy Ivan Torres under arrest for an incident that occurred earlier today here in the Bexar County Jail. Where Torres is accused of assaulting an inmate who has been with only in the jail for a day.
May 25th, 2022. The freeze is on. No inmate movement, no exceptions. An inmate refuses to go to his cell. 2 men. Tensions rising. Seconds later, an incident. By the next morning, a headline. And later that day, a life reduced to a mugshot and a charge. Official oppression.
The charges now are official oppression and assault bodily injury. Both of them Class A misdemeanor charges.
The story the public heard came fast and left faster. But the part that never made it to the public? An evaluation saying that man should have never been put in a unit other than a mental health unit at all. If you run a jail on overtime and fear, you don't just make paperwork mistakes, you make people mistakes. And when those mistakes surface, someone pays the price for them. And apparently, these mistakes happen more often than they want you to know. This is the case of former Deputy Ivan Torres, accused, arrested, terminated. Tonight, we're reopening what the headlines closed, what classification missed, what a department didn't want to say out loud. For the first time since his arrest, Deputy Ivan Torres speaks his perspective, his story, beginning not long after Sheriff Salazar first took office.
My name is Ivan Anthony Torres, and I do consent to the recording of this meeting. It all started May 25th, 2022, about 2 p.m. 2 p.m. is generally when the freeze comes on, and the freeze, as anybody who works in the sheriff's office knows, there's absolutely supposed to be no inmate movement at that time. But the freeze had just come on, and I don't know where I get a knock at the door, and I see an inmate standing there. This inmate's not carrying any type of bag. There's no mattress, nothing. He's just standing there as if he belonged to my unit. So I go to the door, I pop the door open, and I ask him, where are you, where are you coming from? And he's like, oh, I'm assigned here. So I look at his ID card, flip it over on the back, and sure enough, it says the unit that he's assigned to the unit. And kind of in the past, it's always happened to where inmates kind of get thrown in your unit at the last minute, or even they get escorted to your unit, and that's kind of how the loophole is with it. And so I said, okay, fine. Grabbed his card. Noticed he didn't have any property bag or nothing. So as always, I've always been the type of deputy that's just, all right, I'll help you get what you need, but if I see that you're taking advantage of it, I'm gonna take it away. So I'll help you get, the $6 or, one top, one bottom. If it looks, dirty and raggedy, I'll make sure that you get a new one. If your mattress is just blown out, I'll make sure you get a mattress. So I was always that type of deputy to make sure inmates got what they needed. So I didn't tell the inmate at that point in time, but I said, all right, man, your bunk, I think it was like bunk 26 or 34, somewhere in that range. And at the time this was all at the annex. So the annex is open bay. So being that it's open bay, it's what is it, 64 or 74? Yeah, I think it's 74 bunks all just lined up in a row. So 210, I remember exactly, was the time the alarm I went off. My alarm went off so that I can do an observation check. An observation check, for those who don't know, is it's pretty much just you have this they have this scanner, kind of looks like an overlarge phone that has an RFID reader on there. And in the unit, there's 4 RFID tags. You have to go and scan it. When you scan it, that RFID tag takes a geolocation timestamp that at this point in time you were right here. This point in time you were right here, and there's 4 of them individually placed along the unit. So I hit the first RFID tag that's right behind my desk. This inmate, and I remember his name is Dave. When already walking towards the bunks where he was supposed to be. Um, I didn't see if he had sat down, but he just kind of looked like, honestly, he looked scared. He looked like a young kid. And so I didn't think nothing of it. So I hit my first RFID tag, which is literally right behind the desk. I go to the first one or the second one, which is in between the walls of the bathroom. So I hit the second one and I turn around to cut across the unit. And when I'm coming up to him, we're about maybe 3 feet away from each other. And I remember telling him in the same manner, same tone, "Hey man, what are you doing? I need you to have a seat." And because he was just standing there kind of looking all confused and looking like he didn't know what to do. So told him, "Hey man, what are you doing? I need you to have a seat." And at that point in time, he turned, he faced me, we locked eyes, balled his fist, took a very aggressive and combative stance, and he shouted out loudly, "I'm a Chinese diplomat. What the fuck do you want to do about it, bitch?" And kind of like, whoa, I reanalyzed how close I was to him. And at that moment, he was giving me that 1,000-yard stare. Now, when it comes to law enforcement, if it's anybody who knows law enforcement or corrections, if they're giving you that 1,000-yard stare, it's what's about to happen next. It's gonna happen. Like there's no stopping. So at that point in time, I went up to reach for the back of his arm to escort him out because obviously he's being a disruptive inmate. And it's 2:15 in the afternoon. I'm about 1 hour, less than an hour from getting off a shift. So I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not gonna happen. So I went to grab him by the back of the arm, and I was gonna go have him sit in the corridor with the sergeant. And as soon as I grabbed him by the back of the arm to escort him, I saw his arms kind of come up over me, and I saw it from my peripheral vision. And it was at that moment that I didn't know if this guy was trying to swing at me. I didn't know if this guy's trying to like jump on top of me, because at the time I think he's like 6'1" or 6 foot, because he had some height on me. He was a solid 240, maybe 230, right? 230 to 240. I'm 5'9". Now I'm not tall, but I'm also not short. And at the time, I was 160. Yeah, I was 165 because I was in the process to reenlist for the Coast Guard. I had already made weight. I made my background. I already had a ship off date and everything. And so smaller than this guy in stature. So when I saw his arms come up over me at that moment, like my instincts kicked in to where it's fight or flight. I still had grip on the back of his arm, and when I saw his arms come up, the only thing I could think was duck underneath his arms, which I ducked underneath his arms. And when I came up over, I reached back and I just hit him once, and that was it. And as soon as I hit him, his head went back. And when his head went back, he was pretty close to a bunk. So he hit the back of his head on a bunk. And I remember hearing him say, "Oh, fuck." And so at that point in time, I went to grab him. I turned him around. And when I went to take him to the floor, I think at that moment he tried to run because we were maybe a good 2 feet away from another bunk that was nearby. and he went down, but he went out and away. And when he went away from me, and we were both going down at the same time, that's when he smacked his face on the edge of a bunk. And these are all metal bunks. Um, so when he smacked his face, I heard it. I heard him kind of in pain. I got him on the ground. Um, at this point in time in my career, I was already pretty complacent. Um, I had a lot of seniority within myself, and how to carry myself, and especially with inmates. I had a lot of rapport with a lot of inmates at the annex. Um, so I kind of also rebelled at the same time. So I didn't carry my cuffs, that's on me. Um, I didn't carry my cuffs because I remember there was an incident where I got into a pretty heated argument with one of the lieutenants over my duty belt. Um, I'm a licensed peace officer, or I was. I've always had my peace officer's license, but I've also had my jail's license. And obviously, working at the jail, the only thing that goes into the only thing you can use is your jail's license. But on my duty belt, I always had my double magazine pouch, my taser, baton holster, firearm holster, flashlight, uh, two two cuffs, um, the glove pouch, and my radio pouch. So all of that was always on my belt, but it was leather. Now, the argument, which I know I'm digressing a little bit, but the argument came up where I remember his name, Lieutenant Ballarin, made this huge issue about me even having my firearm holster, my magazine pouch, and my taser holster on my duty belt because he said it wasn't allowed in the jail. And I would always argue with them. One, it's not allowed. That's one thing I prided myself about is one, I knew my shit. I knew policy. I knew policy like the back of my hand. So that way nobody could ever fuck with me. Um, so I knew that as long as your duty belt, if it was leather, all of your accessories had to be leather. The only option for kind of going different is Kydex, and that's only for your firearm holster and for your baton, for your asp. So that's the only holster that can be different other than leather. Other than that, if you're wearing a nylon belt, it has to be nylon accessories, nylon handcuff pouches, nylon glove pouches, nylon radio pouch, so on and so forth. Um, so because of that instance where he got upset that I kind of proved him wrong, yeah, I proved my point, he didn't like it. So he was just like, you know what? I don't care if you're right or wrong. I'm pulling rank. Take it off now. Bet. So it was during that point in time where I'd grown a complacency not to wear anything. I would just show up to work in my pants, my work pants, my work boots, my work shirt, a jacket, and my regular utility belt. And that was it. I didn't, I was like, fine. If I can't even wear my duty belt, all right, I just won't wear anything. So when this incident happened, I didn't have any handcuffs, so I didn't put them in handcuffs. Um, and since it was already like close to 3 o'clock, I was like, well, I know that I had that rapport with inmates that inmates weren't going to try and do something out of pocket this close to leaving because they already know how things get with deputies. Now, I'm not saying deputies that I was a bully, but some deputies can assert themselves in that bully aspect. That's just the culture of jail. And a lot of inmates will tell you, nah, hey, look, it's 3 o'clock or it's 2:30. Let them, they're about to do shift change. Let them do the shift change, and then we could do our thing, whatever, right? Which kind of they know what it is. So at that time, I also didn't have my duress box on me. I had it at the desk. I'm a very neat and organized person, so I always like to make sure everything is organized, especially with this unit being my 5-a-day unit. So, yeah, you know, smacks his face on the bunk. I leave him there and I told him don't move. I had him cross his legs. I did start to see a lot of blood kind of pour out a little bit onto the floor. I walked over to the desk to grab the duress box, and while I'm walking to the desk, this guy's shouting, "You're dead, bitch. You're on a fucking Chinese hit list. I'm gonna kill you and I'm gonna kill your family. You're fucking dead." And he's shouting this all loudly. And in my head, like, I'm not thinking anything. This is to me, I know I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't feel like I was excessive. I know, again, policy. So I know what strikes are forbidden, what strikes are in the green area. And so everything from what I've experienced was good. Um, I didn't, I hit the duress box. Every, cert comes in, sergeant comes in, and I forget her name because I didn't work with her very often, but she was one of the sergeants. She's very tiny. I think her name was Sergeant Rodriguez or something. She was a Latina. She's been there for some while, but I don't, I'm not sure if it's Sergeant Rodriguez. But she comes in, she tells me what happened. So I said, okay, this is what happened. I'm doing my observations, kind of explained to her just the same way I just told you. And she said, okay, did you use any force? I said, yes. What did you do? I punched him once in the face. I never omitted to punching him. I never hid the fact that I hit, that I striked him. She said, okay, make sure it's in your report, full detail. Don't hide anything. She got you. Type up my report, get everything taken care of. Um, PIU, CID, and IA all come to the unit. Obviously, it's a use of force. This guy's is a pretty good gash in his face. Um, from smacking his face on the bunk. They go to medical, they take him down. They take pictures of my hands. They take pictures of his face. They take pictures of me. They interview me, and then they interview him. Um, during the whole, like later on, as time progressed over the months, I was able to actually go to IA and look at the video. This guy was not okay. This guy had fallen through the cracks of classification and ended up getting put in GP when he was actually supposed to be labeled MHU. MHU is mental health unit. And these are the guys that, if you're in MHU, is because you're an inmate who is trying to do self-harm, trying to swallow copper wirings, playing with your feces, talking to people like that are not even there, hallucinating, schizophrenic, really serious cases. This guy was one of those cases, and he fell through the cracks of classification. While they were interviewing him, they had asked him what happened. Oh, Deputy Torres started yelling at me. And it's kind of like the more questions they asked him, the more he regressed in his mental state, because it went from, it looked like you were talking to an adult at the very beginning to talking to a kid. And it was really weird to see that. And you can just see how it goes down little by little. Because at first he's like, oh, well, he was yelling at me. Okay, why was he yelling at you? Well, I wasn't sitting. Why weren't you sitting down? Well, I don't have a mattress. Okay. But I didn't tell him I would get him a mattress. Of course, I wasn't going to tell him anything. I was just going to go get him a mattress. But um, he was just making comments like, oh, well, I'm a Chinese diplomat. I can get away with things. I'm allowed to do these things. no, like, regardless of your diplomacy, if you are, like, you're not immune to things. Like, if you still commit a crime, you're still gonna, there's process to this, even if you were a diplomat. And if you were a diplomat, you wouldn't be in the situation. You wouldn't be here. Um, so they're asking him like, "Hey, did you say this? Did you say, what the fuck can you do about a bitch? Did you make a threat? Did you threaten his life? Did you tell him he was going to be on a hit list? No, but it's all recorded in the unit. All the units have live audio, or not live audio, but they have all cameras and are they're all recording everything too, and the audio." And he's like, "No, I didn't say that. I never said that. He just started beating me up." And they're like, "Okay, well, how did he start beating you up?" "Well, he was punching me in the back of the head." "Okay, well, how many times was he punching you in the back of the head? Did it feel like a lot? Did it like was it just once?" He's like, "No, he punched me 100 times." And they're like, "Well, what do you mean he punched you 100? Did it feel like 100 times? Did it?" And that's when he's like, "No, it didn't feel like 100 times. I counted every single punch." And I'm like, "Every single punch, huh?" And I've been into a lot of fights in my life. I can tell you that if I got hit once or twice, maybe 4 times, but after that, like, I can't tell you if I got hit any more times because I'm not thinking of how many times I'm getting punched. But to get punched 100 times in the back of the head, that you got to sit there and count every, one, two, three, four. And I can punch, I can fight. I have a boxing background, but I'm not going to punch 100 times, especially to the back of the head. So he's telling the investigators this. And they're like, "Oh, 100 times. Wow, that's a lot of punches. Why do you think it was that?" And it's, "Well, because I counted." And he had told the investigators had asked him, like, "Okay, so, pretty much they completed their interview and then they had asked him, 'Do you want to press charges?'" And that's when he was like, "Yes." And that's kind of what sealed my fate. Um, this all happened about yeah, like all about 2:15 in the afternoon. They interviewed him. It was about like 3:30. It wasn't until about 9:30 at night. I was like, you know what? Let me go outside and get some fresh air. I go to my truck, check my phone, check, check on everything. And then I look over to my right and I see Javier Salazar just walking in. And I'm like, great. I know what's coming next. So I actually hadn't called my mom. No, I didn't call my mom. Who did I call? I think I was dating some girl at the time. And I called her just to see how she was doing. Let her know, "Hey, just busy with work. I'll text you when I get out of here." So then boom, I put my phone up, I go back inside, and I see Salazar there. And this guy, fucking never forget it. Because it's like the biggest slap in the face. He went to shake my hand instead of just saying like, "So these are what we got. This is the details. This is that." Instead of talking to me like a human being, it's kind of he was like, "Hey, fuck you. You're being arrested." Shook my hand and then said, "So this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna be placed under arrest." And I'm like, "I'm under arrest for what? Like, what the fuck? What did I do?" Just kind of also, it didn't spiral from there. I was pretty upset, kind of in shock at the same time. And so he goes, "I need you to take your watch, your ring, your bracelet, take everything out of your pockets." And at that moment in time, he had an orange pair of inmate pants and an orange inmate shirt brought to the fucking office at the annex. And he had me change out into those fucking inmate top and bottoms and sandals just to walk me out of the annex in oranges. I kept on. He let me keep my, obviously my, I guess, personal civilian underwear on. He didn't make me put on inmate boxers. My undershirt that I was wearing the whole day, he let me keep that on. My socks, I got to keep those on. So I had to wear inmate sandals, top and bottoms. Put me in cuffs. They walked me out of the front of the annex. At the same time, people were starting to come in for third shift, and it's the guys that get there like super early. And I'm just like, absolutely no, like discretion, nothing. Just you're fucked. You're guilty. This is what, this is you. Put me in the back of the unit. They drive me over to the main jail, put me in the cell. And this is kind of where I tend to get angry about this situation. Um, it was what's his name? Chief Jimenez. He's always, bragging about how he was border patrol and this and that, and thinks he's a top dog and shit. And I get screened by mental health over at the main jail. I get cleared. I get medical when I get cleared. They put me in my own cell. And out of nowhere, I see uh Chief Jimenez come in, and I see him from the cell that I'm in, and he's talking to one of the booking lieutenant, which is Lieutenant Rodriguez. Big guy, tall, bald. And he points over to my cell, and I'm just like, fuck, okay, whatever. Didn't think anything of it. Couple minutes later, cert stacks up on my door. Lieutenant Rodriguez takes lead, and they have a FSP smock. And he was like, "Hey, per policy, per policy, Chief Jimenez wants you to change out into FSP smock." I'm like, the fuck? There's no sheriff policy. There's no policy that says I need to be changed out into an FSP smock. What are you talking about? Well, that's what Chief wants. And so I had to strip down all the way to nothing. No socks, no boxers, no top, no bottom. Nothing. Not even sandals. Barefoot, ankle cuffs, and a FSP smock. I felt fucking enraged and embarrassed that I even got put into that. Later on, I asked Lieutenant Rodriguez, like, why am I wearing this FSP smock, bro? Well, Chief Jimenez thinks you're a risk because of your past. Like, because of my past? What do you mean because of my past? I'm taking counseling because I was in a toxic relationship. A toxic relationship led me to some bad places. I'm going to counseling for it. As a matter of fact, I have a fucking counseling appointment tomorrow morning. Like, I'm fine. I'm not suicidal. Yeah, well, he thinks you are. So you're going to be in the smock. So I had to be in the smock all the way up until about, I think it was like 7, 8 in the morning. They finally processed all my bond paperwork. I bonded myself out, and they got everything taken care of. They got me dressed into my clothes, and as soon as I got dressed, they, got me cleared and everything, and I walked out. And as soon as I walked out, I literally went over to my truck, grabbed my phone, had my keys with me, and then I drove over, literally right across. So where South Tower's at, there's a kind of a admin building across the street, and it's right across from the parking garage at South Tower. That's where the my therapist was at. And yeah, so they went over straight to my therapist, went to my appointment like nothing had happened. Yeah, it was pretty much the whole situation. This happened May. I think it was back in June. It wasn't until June that they served me with termination paperwork. I got called in by IA to go to their office, and that's when they served me with termination paperwork.
And how did the legal process go? Did you go to trial? Did they cut a deal with you? What happened?
Nothing. I never stepped foot in the courtroom.
Seriously?
Never stepped foot in the courtroom. Never had a court date. Though there was a couple times where I had a court date, and my attorney had told me, "Hey, you got a court date." All right, cool. Getting close to that court date, and they were like, "Hey, never mind." They rescheduled the court date. All right, cool. Moved on with my life. Tried to do as best I could because bills were piling up, and I was working in the oil field. And so yeah, I just did that, and never, never got a court date. Never got indicted. Nothing. As a matter of fact, I got arrested on official oppression and assault bodily injury. Bodily injury actually got dropped and dismissed the night I was arrested. So they didn't even pick up the charge on assault bodily injury. I was on bond for about a year, shy of 2 years. It wasn't until March. Yeah, so I was sitting on bond for official oppression. But it was what's that word? Enhanced. Enhanced official oppression. So it went from I think bodily official oppression is I think a state jail felony. And they no, I think it's a class A misdemeanor. Yeah, I think it's a class A misdemeanor and they bumped it up to a state jail felony. So literally just sat waiting for almost 2 years. No word, no court date, nothing.
So
Then
was the whole case dropped?
yeah, dropped and dismissed. Insufficient evidence.
And did they tell you that depending on the outcome of the case that you could reapply or go back to
No,
no.
nothing. And I think that's also what upset me about Salazar's behavior is that there's people that are actively working for the sheriff's office right now who were arrested for DWI. They're arrested for other issues. They were caught red-handed behind the wheel, drunk and drunk as fuck. And they still got to keep their jobs. They still got to eventually put the uniform back on. They got to kind of live a good life for a little bit to get placed in and what's that non-contact position. So you're pretty much working admin or you're working in booking. There's like what's his name? There's a deputy who was literally facing allegations because he was a third officer because he had done some shady things and he was facing allegations and he was under investigation and they put him in booking just to work and then he moved on with his life and he still works for the sheriff's office. I'm just like, bro, I never got offered my job back. I never got offered any type of assistance. I was a member of the sheriff's association, and when the sheriff's association found that I was arrested, they never called me to check on me. They never called to say, "Hey, you're a member. Do you need assistance? Is there anything we can help you with?" They never reached out. But when I reached out to them, all I got was voicemails. I never got nothing. Never got a call back. So I had to go get legal counsel outside on my own. And yeah, I think this arrest has been the hardest thing for me because when I got out of the Marines in 2017, in July of 2017, as a matter of fact, it was literally a smooth transition over to the sheriff's office. My start date with the sheriff's office was July 31st, 2017. And it was easy transition for me. Um, all I've ever wanted to be was a cop. Wanted to be a cop, eventually working my way through patrol, then over to SWAT. I had goals. And then eventually retire as a SWAT instructor because preaching CQB, that's what I did in the Marines. I worked with, we specialized in UMB, which is urban mobility breaching. And we work with T4, dynamite, TNT, deck cords to create explosive charges just to gain entry into a building, depending how the size of the hole you need to be, how much noise you need to make. And then once you're in the building, you're going to go ahead and clear the building. So you're going in room by room, just like a SWAT operator. So SWAT was my main goal. Um, and yeah, all that, my entire career just got ripped away from me. All for some kid who fell through the cracks of classification.
Does that happen a lot, in your opinion?
Yeah. Yeah, classification drops the ball a lot. A lot. I can't tell you how many times classification has mislabeled a pedophile. How many times they've put them in GP instead of PC. How many times an Orejon got through the cracks. An Orejon ended up in GP. How many times an ME, Mexican mafia member ended up in GP trying to fly under the cracks. They don't even, if you were to go in and tell them, oh, I'm TS, which is Texas Syndicate's an old prison gang. They don't even care anymore. They're just like, oh, you're TS? Cool, we don't care. You don't matter. You're going GP. Like, they just don't care. Because it's not the issue that Orejons and Emma is bringing up. And if I'm not mistaken, to this day, Emma and Orejons are still an SOS. It's on site with them. They're still at war. They've been at war for the longest time. Now with Orejon and Eme, yeah, they'll make sure to classify them, but there's still Orejons that are getting falling through the cracks. They'll say I'm not active, and then they'll put them GP. They'll end up over at the annex, and next you know, you got Orejons trying to run politics at the annex, which is I think it's at the annex it's low, low, medium, and in some cases medium high as far as classification levels. Medium high and high is where you're going to be at the main jail. And those are the ones that are going to go to AD, CD, BD, like those higher classifications that are actual classified Orejon pod. And there's nothing but active Orejons in that unit, and nothing but active MS in that unit. That's just classification. They get complacent, they get lazy, they just don't care. So why is it that you got an uh inactive 6-pointer Orejon at the annex or a 5-pointer Orejon? 5 points and 6 points will tell you what kind of like what generation of Orejon they are. 5 points are going to be your older cats. your OGs, your 6 pointers are going to be your new cats, the knuckleheads. Those are the ones that they're going to start riots at the annex. They tend to do. They tend to start riots. So yeah.
Um, so before this whole incident, what was your opinion about Sheriff Salazar?
Up until this moment, I never really had a lot of like FaceTime with Salazar, but you could tell that there was always some type of there's a different type of he's got a different motive than what he says. When initially I first came on with the sheriff's office, I remember him giving this whole hoorah speech at the main jail. Or no, when we were at the academy, he was like, "If you are, I'm working to cut the cancer out of the jail." And he would always say that I'm looking to cut the cancer, and it's like, what cancer though? What it seems like the way he would perceive it is, or anybody could perceive it, was that you're fishing to find something that isn't there. You want there to be a problem there because that's where people are looking at you to find a problem. But in reality, the problem that we have is underlining in something completely different. The problem is that you have deputies working overtime. You're, you're cutting, you're firing deputies that don't need to be fired. The deputies that you are not firing that actually deserve to fucking be dipped out are getting the fucking golden ticket to get transferred out to patrol, and they make it and they fall through the cracks. There's a lot of deputies that are on patrol right now that were those fucking dirtbag deputies. The deputies that would put green lights on inmates. The deputies that would allow inmates to green light each other. There's even to this day, I know there's still deputies at the jail that I've seen them allow a green light to happen in front of them. Only thing is, they just didn't get caught. And, it just, you hear all these stories between deputies, and it's like, bro, this happened. Oh, why don't you say nothing? Oh, I don't want to be a snitch. Yeah, but you're not making the situation any better. So why not say something? Instead of Sheriff Salazar focusing on kind of being there for his troops to, make sure they feel empowered, make sure they feel comfortable, make sure they are knowing that, hey, I can do my job and I'm not going to get burned. That's why a lot of these deputies are afraid to actually do their job. That's why a lot of deputies will allow inmates to walk all over them because they fear that if I do something or say something, I'm going to be the one that gets burned. So then you got a deputy who's tired, exhausted, frustrated, and on top of that, he just finished his fifth OT of the week. He just put in 96 hours at the jail. I'm not an inmate. Why am I spending 96 hours in a jail? Like that just don't make any sense. And it's like you said in one of your videos. Deputies are living at the jail. And that's the reality of it. You become a part-time inmate because you're no longer living at home. You're living at work, but you're just coming home to sleep. To sleep, to eat, to shower, and that's it. And you got 8 hours, you got an 8 hour turnaround time. And that's 8 hours. That's even if you get off on time. So you got 8 hours, less than 8 hours at that point to get home, to shower, to eat, spend time with the kids, get some sleep, wake up on time, get dressed, make yourself something to eat to take for lunch, and get to work on time. 8 hours then enough to do all of that. Like, if you're single, you ain't doing it's difficult. You're pretty much eating out every damn day, unless you meal prep or whatever the case. But yeah, I think Sheriff Salazar is focusing too much on things that don't matter, like getting a damn boat, getting a damn water unit, a mounted unit. Like, bro, what's the purpose of mounted unit? The mounted unit. We don't do patrols in mounted unit. We're not like Galveston PD. They've done patrols on mounted units. They've been doing patrols on mounted unit. What's the point of getting a boat? And now he wants to get a helicopter with taxpayers' money? For what? What do you need a helicopter for, Javier? You don't need a helicopter. That's what state troopers are for. That's what SAPD has a helicopter for. Like, let they already have that in place. You just need to focus on what is in front of you. And what's in front of you is the deputies that are struggling, the deputies that are working 72, 96 hours at the jail. When I first started at the jail, it was one MOT a week. And that was always on the Tuesday of your work week. Sometimes that MOT wasn't even a full shift. It was, hey, we're gonna go do a shakedown. Once we're done with the shakedown, you're gone for the day. Bet. You were out on your MOT night, you're out by midnight. Because all we did was just shakedown, and that was it. Boom, shakedown's done, you're gone. All right, cool. And then it became MOT. No, I need you to work the shift. All right, cool, no worries. It's just one out of the week. And then you got FMOT, which is what the so MOT is your Tuesday, FMOT is your Thursday, and then you got what is it? Your yeah, you're forced. You end up getting forced Monday, your Tuesday, your Wednesday, and your Thursday. And yeah, so you end up working what, 4 overtime shifts out of your 5-day work week?
Yeah, it was
Where's the time for your
FMOT, MOT, VOT,
yeah,
and I want to say there was a true VOT, like you hands.
yeah. And that's the crummy part is some of these lieutenants are so horrible at management that they don't take the time to consider, all right, this deputy already spent 8 hours in this unit. You think he wants to spend another 8 hours in the same unit? Like, at least let me move him to command center. Let me move him to the kitchen. Let me move him to what is that? The to medical. Let me move him to booking. Let me move him around so wait, he's not so he actually gets to step around. But some of these lieutenants didn't do that. They didn't care. They're like, all right, this is the only unit I got. You can either go to 1C, 2C, 3C, or no, yeah, 1C, 2C, 3C, 4C. Or you can go to it's just moving to another unit. And at that point, what's the point? You might as well just stay where you're at. Like, just and I would tell some lieutenants that. Do you have medical available? No. Do you have command center available? No. Do you have transportation available? No. Do you have a kitchen or anything else available at the main jail that's not in the unit? No. Just leave me where I'm at then. And I just hang up. Because at that point, there's no point. You're just going to another unit. Might as well just stay where you're at. And I think going back to Sheriff Salazar is I don't think he cares about deputies. He says, oh, I want this for my deputies. I want to cut out the cancer. I want to do this. When in fact, he himself is the cancer. He does absolutely nothing for the deputies. The deputy gets hurt. All right, cool. Make sure you're back on work on Monday. And he doesn't care. But yeah, no, going back to topic, no man, Salazar doesn't care. He cares about his image. He cares about looking good on stage, dressed in all white at what was it, the vice
The
president's?
DNC.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there you go. He cares about looking good for that. But he doesn't care about the inmates that are working 16-hour shifts. At one point in time, I was working an 18-hour shift. 18 hours. At that point, you might as well not even sleep
Yeah, I had
because
that. I had that occur to me. I was actually in a lockdown unit, and like you said, the the lieutenant said, "No, we don't have anything open." I was like, "Well, fuck it, just leave me in here. I already have the
Mhm.
rapport with the inmates. They already know I'm running hours. Lockdown is hours.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be good for me if I stay here at least, versus trying to go into another unit. Who knows how the deputy prior to me was? He might have been an ass. He might have been cool. He might have been too cool. And I was real by the book, and they knew
Yeah.
that. Lockdown, Gen Pop didn't matter, but the way I ran it was the same in every unit. It didn't matter
Mhm.
how bad you were, how good you were. I was the same.
Yeah.
I was equal all the way around. So I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'll stay here. Well, I'm on my double already. Shift change coming. It's already what was shift change? 6 o'clock start, right?
Yeah.
It was already like 8 o'clock. I didn't have a coverage. I didn't make a call, nothing. Um, so by 9 o'clock, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna call the sergeant's office, the corridor. I was like, hey, is someone coming? They're like, what do you mean? What's wrong? I'm like, I've been here for 2 shifts already. So next thing you know, I get a few calls for the next hour or two, uh, and then the calls stop, and I'm still there. And about into the third hour, I was like, well, fuck, I'm still here. So I didn't get off till about I want to say it was like 11 o'clock that next day. I had to come in for second shift,
Mhm.
and I was like, all right, so do I get the day off? They're like, no, you could come in an hour late. I'm like, what's the point? I'm gonna get 3 hours to get ready. So I came home and I went right back because I knew if I slept, I was just gonna be I was not gonna be there, and then I would have
Yeah.
gotten in trouble. I was like,
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna go home, shower, get ready, uh, and come back, and
And
that's what I did.
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to explain, especially to the crazy people that are trying to say that he volunteered for all that time. Like even
Mm-mm.
if he did, those hours that he's waiting are not voluntary.
Mhm.
So,
And like she said, I didn't volunteer. So the one time I followed orders, as you have a Marine background, so you know how it is. You follow orders, you do what you're told.
Yeah.
So me, I followed orders. If they asked me, and in the through the academy, through the jail time, and then back in the academy to get your blues, they always mentioned the voluntold. Well, I tested my theory. I did rush to get my 480 when I was cadet because it was easy. I did a lot of
Mhm.
medical escorts. So I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna take my chance, do it right now. That way I don't have to do it in blues when I know
Yeah.
for a fact you gotta be in units, you gotta do all kinds of other stuff. It's like, so I'm gonna do it right now. So once
Mhm.
I got in blues, I was like, you know what? I'm too tired tonight. Well, they call me. I wasn't gonna call, and they're like, hey, wait, can you stay? I was like, no, actually, I'm really tired today. I've already done my doubles.
Mhm.
And well, that particular lieutenant got heated. And so I told him, so I guess this isn't a matter of can I stay? It's I'm gonna stay. And he's like, well, yeah, I need you to stay. So I was like, so yeah, I'm getting told to stay or else, basically. Fine, I'll stay, Lieutenant. Do I get to pick my unit since it's technically a VOT? Uh, and he's like, no, I need you to stay there. So that was another time that I had to stay in the unit. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way you could switch me out of here because I mean, I want to at least walk to another unit.
Mhm.
I mean, that was a break in
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah. I
So
I built a rapport because there was a time when I was going through a pretty rough mental patch and started going to therapy, and my therapist actually was able to get in contact with, well, had a good rapport with some of the chiefs of the higher command, and they were able to transfer me temporarily from the units over to booking. So while I was assigned to booking for a temporary while, I built a really solid rapport with the sergeants, the lieutenants, and it was really good. So once I got transferred back over to the units, um, I would call ahead of time. Hey, because I already knew my MOT, I was stuck at the annex. There was no going anywhere. But I did ask a couple of times, like, hey, I know it's my MOT, but do they need extra bodies over at the main jail? Because once I got to the main jail, I was good with the shift commanders at the main jail. So I could kind of either go to MHU, I can go to medical or the infirmary, I can go to booking over there and help out. And kind of, I guess if you want to call it, I would like weasel my way around the the procedures that they have. But yeah, I figured out a way how to, if it wasn't my MOT or my FMOT, I would call ahead of time to booking at the main jail and ask them like, "Yo, you guys need VOTs today? Yeah, we need transport. All right, bet. Put me down for VOT on that. All right, cool. I'll let my lieutenant over here know." So then when they were the third shift lieutenant at the annex would call me, I would just tell us straight out, "Hey, I already VOT'd for the main jail transportation." Oh, okay, okay, cool. No worries. Let me get you some relief. Like there was ways around it, but you had to. Nobody's gonna sit there and tell you, "Hey, there's ways around this." Because if not, these lieutenants, they will walk all over you. They will they'll leave you stranded. They don't care. There were times where I was in your shoes where I was like, dude, I'm just too tired. I already worked my MOT, my FMOT. This is a mandate, like a forced no relief. FNR, there you go. It was
Yeah.
FNR, where a lieutenant, and I'll tell you who it was. It was Lieutenant Jones, Octavia Jones. She was one of the third shift lieutenants at the annex. Bro, she would get so heated with me, and we would get into some arguments. Um, and I would tell her like straight out, I'm not staying. I'm tired. All right, well then write an incident report. All right, bet. Boom, write an incident report just saying I'm not staying. And sure enough, the next day I'm walking into shift to a to a write up for insubordination. And I'm like, bro, what do you mean? Like I already worked my MOT, I already worked my FMOT. Like my mandatory, you're trying to F and R me? I'm tired. I've already worked 4 overtime shifts this week. And you trying to F and R me of all days on my Friday? I'm tired. I want to go home. I've been here and I was already there for like 4 years. I was shy of 5 years when all this happened. I was like, bro, I've got some seniority. Not a lot, but I got some seniority here. So why are you gonna write me up for being tired? How are you gonna write me up for insubordination when I've already worked what is expected of me? Not only my 8 hours, but my 2 mandatory overtime shifts. You're gonna F and R me. I'm gonna write a report to say I'm tired and I can't stay, but I get written up for this? How is that any fair?
So, in your opinion, to all these people that are saying that they have a choice, as in, you deputies, in order for y'all to leave if you're too tired, do you believe that's true?
No, you don't got a choice. I mean, technically, yeah, you do have a choice because you could write an incident report to say why you're refusing to stay. But when you come back, there's retaliation. You're
Exactly.
coming back to a write up for insubordination. So yeah, no, you don't have a choice. It's either go home and get some sleep, or and get a write up, or you don't get you get no sleep, and at least now you don't have retaliation facing you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what uh, she's been trying to explain on the videos. Still get some bad
Mhm.
comments and stuff, but it's like a lot of a lot of people like me, I'm not one to openly complain, I guess you could say. If I
Right.
if I gotta complain to someone, like that lieutenant in particular, hey man, I'm tired. Nobody ever knew I was tired. I never told anybody, fuck, I don't want to stay another shift. They would always ask me, man, how do you do all this overtime? Well, we have to, so I mean, I'm here. It is what it is. I mean, I wasn't
Yeah.
over there basically crying to other deputies. I wasn't like telling them, "Oh, I'm done with this. This too much." Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, obviously, I didn't have any options. Whenever they got used to me doing it as a cadet, but they didn't pay attention to the fact that I wasn't trying to do it as an officer. Now, what I needed to do was make my 480,
Hmm.
and once I met that, well, we were going to have a brand new baby. I didn't want to spend most of my time in a jail. I want to spend time
Hmm.
with a newborn and my already born daughter.
Hmm.
And so tried to cut back, and they were just it was pushed. It was pushed. When I finally had enough, I was like, you know what? I'm too tired. It was like you said, retaliation, and his retaliation was keep me in a lockdown unit with my on my own, and
Yeah.
it happened to be so it wasn't so lockdown units you got to have two officers. It happened to be the Orejon pod, which I had a good
Yeah.
rapport with them. Didn't have any issues with them. Um, the thing is, you especially me, like I said, I ran it by the book as far as running their hours.
Hmm.
Now I got told since you're on your own on the first shift, anyways, on the first shift I was on, since you're on your own, you don't got to run the hours. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna go great for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna not run their hours, and then I'm gonna have issues with the inmates. I'm like, and besides, it's not fair to them. I mean, yeah, they did the crime. Whatever they did, maybe they didn't. Uh, who knows? That's not up to me to say. So I ran
Yeah.
hours. Well, you can't just stop on the second shift because you're tired.
Yeah.
So you're running hours again, and I ran day room and rec like I was supposed to.
Yeah.
So I was kind of, I guess you could say, compared to some, I was pushing the limits. I was doing it the right way and actually
Hmm.
running their hours. So it wasn't like I had a lot of sit time, especially in a lockdown unit. You know how it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. You're not sitting down a lot. You're up, you're moving. You got
Yeah,
your observation checks. You have to get them out of rec, bring them back in. When they're in the day room, you got to secure them just so you can bring rec in. Fucking let them back out into day room. Then do the same thing for when you got to get another person out into rec. So I know the game, man. I know how it works. It it's hard, and I feel you, man. It's a it's a slippery slope whenever you get put into situations like that where it's like, bro, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
yeah.
Right? Yeah, you may get some rest, not running day room hours, right? Because you're already exhausted, but you're gonna get the backlash from the inmates. And no matter which way you go, like you're still screwed. And that's just the sheriff's office, bro. It's you have no needs. When it comes to the sheriff's office, it's not the needs, it's the needs of the sheriff's office. It's its own monster. Like you have to feed it because if not, it's gonna eat you up alive. And it does to a lot of deputies. Um, there was multiple occasions where I would remember walking out of the jail and I don't remember anything else. I would wake up still in uniform, boots, pants, shirt, everything on. I'd wake up and I look at the time and it's 1:30. I'm like, holy crap, I gotta get up for shift. Not realizing I've had plenty enough time to like actually get up, but I was just so exhausted that my mind shut down as soon as I walked out of the jail. I don't remember driving home, and it took it from the jail to where I was living at the time. I was living off of Bandera and Houseman. That's past 1604. That's a 30-minute drive. I don't remember taking I-10 all the way up. I don't remember if I took I-10 to 1604, I-10 to I-10 to Houseman. I don't remember how I did it, but I drove from the jail all the way to I-10 to 1604, Bandera in 1604 area, out to Houseman, park, go up the stairs, lay down, and I don't remember anything. And there was one instance where I actually woke up and my front door was wide the fuck open. And it's like I think it was 2:15 in the afternoon. And I'm like, holy fuck. How did I get home? Where's my truck? And in one instance, I actually parked in the wrong spot to where I thought somebody stole my truck. But I had parked on the far end of the complex for some odd reason. Parked at the far end and I walked all the way to my unit when I had an assigned parking spot that was right in front of my unit. And I was like, where's my truck? And I go to, hey, I said, fuck it, I'll deal with calling the police later, make a report. Took an Uber from the apartment to the sheriff's office. Well, as he's leaving, I see my truck. And I'm like, bro, stop, stop. And he's like, what happened? I was like, fuck, cancel the ride. My truck's right there. Like, but why is my truck here? Like, why is it parked here? Like, I get it, man. You just become so exhausted that your mind shuts off, but your body just keeps going.
What's your opinion on the favorites, how they're treated?
The favorites, to this day, every time I see TikTok and I see their favorites, I just laugh. Um, I had a lot of animosity for the favorites whenever I first got fired and arrested, right? And I made some comments, unnecessary comments. In all reality, it's immature to even just feed into it. But I mean, when it comes to their favorites, I'm just like, bro, whatever. At least I'm not there. I've never been the one to like kiss ass or anything. I couldn't. I wouldn't be part of the boys, the team. Just for my team in the Marines, hell yeah. I wouldn't kiss ass, but I'm gonna ride out with my boys. But that's a whole different entity compared to the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office is just it's that. The favorites, I just laugh at them. That's all you can do. It's not gonna change. It's not gonna change.
Yeah,
The fact that they're the favorites.
somebody told us yesterday it's a gang, and if you're not a part of it, then
Oh, for sure. It sure is. That's and those that are in the gang is the ones that you see going from from the jail to patrol to the mounted unit. The mounted unit, there's a lot of the favorites on there. I know recently there was one of the favorites that went from mounted unit to K9. I know. What else? Oh, the other favorite that likes to be on social media herself. She's just constantly dancing all over TikTok.
I know who you're
Mm,
talking
well,
about.
and I'm just like, bro, yeah, it's a gang. If you're not a part of it, you're gonna get burned. That's just the simple truth about it. You gotta be a
So,
part of the gang to be protected.
what are you doing now? How's life treated you since then?
To be honest with you, and I'm gonna be blunt and raw, my life's miserable. My life is miserable, man. I just 6 months ago I started with a job that I can start finally seeing as a career. Um I haven't been able to find stability as far as work, but this job that I have now I can kind of see some stability. Um so after I left the sheriff's office, I needed to keep my mind occupied, so I enrolled in school. I took some summer courses, which I killed, right? I just knocked it out the park. But bills were piling up and I needed to take care of finances. So I ended up going to work in the oil field. I did that for a little under a year and a half. That fell through because of me. I had a really, really good friend of mine who I've known since high school, who I saw like a sister. She was a Marine as well. She passed away November 3rd in a drunk driving accident. So of course I took that very hard in 2023, and that led me to kind of go down a dark hole and trying to fill that void with alcohol. And so I ended up losing my job in the oil field, which again is my fault. So then I came back home. I tried to find work from the end of December 2023 up until March of 2024. Um, Obviously, between December to March, I didn't have work, but I tried to do what I could. Um, and actually, that's when I took on that job at Thirsty Horse, being a bouncer. So every now and then I make $100 a night. I ended up getting evicted from where I lived. Um, Tried to catch back up with the job that I had because I got a job working for a law firm where I was the lead administrative clerk and the in-house investigator. Um, Obviously, because I couldn't catch up fast enough because I wasn't making that much money. I ended up getting evicted back in April of 2024. So in April of 2024, I was working at the law firm, but I was also homeless. I was sleeping in the backseat of my truck, sleeping at the office. Luckily, nobody ever found out. I had a key and I had my own office, so I would just sleep behind my desk on the floor. Um, I ended up getting in contact with the company that assist veterans kind of getting relocated. And they helped me actually get into the apartment that I'm currently in. And and then August rolls around and I actually I get terminated from the law firm because obviously my sleep is everything going on with mental health was just really hitting me hard. So I started slacking on my job and I wasn't a good fit at the law firm, which is cool. Uh so then I ended up leaving the law firm. I started driving for Lyft while I was in this apartment, and then kind of trying to make, some money here and there. I ended up getting hired on with Via as a paratransit operator in October, and I quickly left Via in December. Via is just Via is another BCSO. Man, Via is horrible. Um, so I left Via in December, and then of 24, yeah. And then I started driving for Lyft again full time from December 24 all the way up until May of 25. And this past May, I got hired on with a company called Goosehead Insurance, and I got licensed. So then when I got licensed, everything was actually really good. Everything's been good. Um, I work Monday through Friday. It's a hybrid position, so Monday and Friday I'm working from home. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday I'm in the office. Um, it's a good job, but honestly, to answer your question, I'm miserable. I'm miserable because I have a lot of depression I have to live with. My career, what I wanted, got stripped away from me um, for something that I didn't actually do. I, I had to leave something that I wasn't done with on somebody else's terms. And that's what's hurt me the most. And to this day, like my fiance will tell you, I'm just I'm angry all the time. I'm angry because I'm fighting demons within myself that I can't get past because I have no control over it. I need to have purpose. and I don't have any purpose. And that's why this actually funny of all dates too, July 31st, 2025, I re-enlisted. So I re-enlisted to go back into the Navy reserves, so that way I can maintain my job where I'm currently at and also have some type of purpose. But there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think of being in the uniform. I don't think about my career. I don't think about where I would be if all of this wouldn't have happened, and I have to just live with it and just bottle it up. And I think the crummy part about it all is my boys, who I thought were my boys when I was at the sheriff's office, nobody talks to me anymore. Nobody reaches out to me, CEO, hey man, how you been, man? You okay? You good? Nah, it's like I became a ghost to them. And which is cool, right? Like it is what it is. It's just it's just me. I have one of my best friends, David. He he's a cop. He's not with Bear County, but I see him doing great things in his career, and I'm just like, dude, I'm living vicariously through you, bro, because that's just not what I can do anymore. He had asked me too, like, would you ever come back to it if you could? I told him, man, if I could go back to being in a uniform, I would in a heartbeat. Because I feel like my purpose on this earth is to be able to protect those who need protection, to be able to be there for those who are having a bad day, to be able to show up to a situation and be the one that's calm and cool and help bring all this chaos. I It's hard to deal with everything that I've been dealing with. But I have no choice. I just have to accept it, just live with it. And sometimes I feel like I can't, but I have to. Because I have a daughter. My daughter is the only reason why I'm even still here. If it wasn't for her, I don't think I would.
They didn't just take his job, they took his identity. Ivan Torres, a deputy who once wore his badge with pride, was forced into a suicidal precaution smock, a bright red mark of shame for the entire jail to see. Not because he was guilty, not because he was dangerous, but because someone wanted to make an example. A chief ordered it, and the message was clear. If you go against us, we'll destroy you from the inside. His goals, his dreams, everything he worked for were snatched away over what was allegedly a fault of the system itself. The very institution that demanded loyalty turned its back on him when it mattered most, and then quietly, the charges were dropped. Insufficient evidence. No apology, no explanation, just silence. Silence not only from the sheriff's office, but also from the media. The kind that leaves you wondering if the damage was ever meant to be repaired in the first place.
His goal is to fucking arrest officers. He loves arresting officers and all this shit. So he gets 10% from emergency management? Really? Okay, so you hear from this way, you know, the fire marshal, right? He's appointed. Mm-hmm. Okay, and all their revenue, half of it goes into the general fund. The other half, the fire marshal can do what he wants with. It's just to use it for whatever he's not supposed to use it for. So he gives a bunch of money to the commissioners. And so we funded this, I had to give money. For what?
this project
But why? I mean,
to keep his appointed job, but he's appointed by the commission.
yeah, I mean, that's,
So if he gives that up, then he gives 10% to the sheriff.
So maybe Ivan's humiliation wasn't just punishment. Maybe it was profit. This is what happens when power protects itself, when the truth becomes inconvenient, and when a system meant to serve turns on its own. For Ivan, the uniform meant purpose. The badge meant belonging. But in the end, all he was left with was a smock, a cell, and the silence of a system that failed him.
I have experienced sleep deprivation before, obviously in the Marines, but I have never experienced sleep deprivation like I did with the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
I experienced it more in the sheriff's office than in the Marines, and that's saying something.
In the dark they wait below. Ghosts of truth will never know. Still they call, still they pray. Through the cracks beneath the screen.